Hello, my name is Nick Wilson, and I'll be facilitating our webinar today, focused on scaling collaboration with Microsoft Teams. Before we get started, I'd like to cover a few housekeeping items. First, this session is being recorded, and the download link to the recording will be shared with you afterward. Second, we will have live Q&A at the end with our presenters. To ask a question, please use the chat box feature on your GoToWebinar control panel, usually found at the right side of your screen. For any questions we can't get to in our live session, we'll be sure to follow up with after the session. Now I'd like to introduce our presenters today. Joining us are Brandon Hammond and Norma Nieto. Brandon is a solutions architect here at CEI with 12 plus years of experience in software development, architecture, and design. He has specialized skills in application development and technical configuration for Microsoft Office 365 and SharePoint. He is also a Microsoft 365 certified teamwork administrator. Norma is the director of the Program and Transformation Office here at CEI. She has over 20 years of consulting experience spanning strategy and also innovation. At CEI, she's entrusted with driving enterprise transformation to build a foundation for long-term success. Prior to joining us at CEI, she was at IBM, where she was consulting on highly visible complex projects. She's played a critical role here at CEI as we ourselves have adapted to these unprecedented times that we're all going through. So Norma, I'd like to turn it over to you to get us started.
Okay, we're going to go through the agenda. Thanks a lot, Nick. Here's what we're going to cover today. We're going to talk briefly about the importance and challenges of optimizing engagement in a remote work environment. Then we'll share with you what Microsoft is doing to make Microsoft Teams broadly available. And then we'll transition to the bulk of the content today, which is the overview of Microsoft Teams and the demo that Brandon's going to lead us through on the features, functions, and best practices. And then we'll wrap up with how you can get free implementation assistance from CEI and end with a Q&A to address any topics on your mind that we did not cover. Okay, so we wanted to briefly start by sharing some thoughts on employee engagement as a backdrop for this, for the more technical topics that Brandon is going to talk to us about. Before all this happened, a lot of companies were already focused on employee engagement as a driver of talent retention and positive business results. Gallup, who's been conducting research on this topic for a lot of years, shows that companies with high levels of employee engagement, the results speak for themselves. And this is increasingly important because now that we find ourselves in the midst of an overnight transformation of our workforce, from many of us having somewhat remote in parts of our company, we're now 100% remote. This kind of abrupt change can be really disruptive to our workforce in ways that we really have only begun to anticipate and find out about. And this really creates challenges in maintaining our employee engagement. There's a lot of distractions for us. Some people have never worked remotely. And this is probably going to be the new normal for a little while. So that kind of sets the backdrop why tools like Microsoft Teams that can be quickly and easily deployed are so important to helping us facilitate this rapid change, but also to really help us monitor and drive employee engagement as a key metric as we face these uncertain times. So with that, I'm just going to turn it back over to Brandon, and he's going to lead us through the heart of this presentation.
Thank you, Norma. We know that these changes can be difficult for some, but we're encouraged by some recent announcements from Microsoft, and we want to help get the word out. Microsoft has acknowledged the impact of the COVID-19 outbreak and how their Office 365 products, specifically Microsoft Teams, is well suited to help individuals and companies adapt to that change. While many organizations are already licensed to use these tools, Microsoft has made a public commitment to provide the tools for free to organizations in need. If your IT department is already providing guidance, then that is great. Please follow it. We will all need to continue to follow our corporate policies regardless of what method we choose to keep doing good work. But if you're struggling to find a solution on your own, we wanted to make you aware of what Microsoft Teams tools can do and how it can help. The link shown in the will be provided at the end of the discussion and has been referenced from our LinkedIn profile. That announcement links to a blog post that details the different paths available to take advantage of Microsoft's offer. They provided different links for getting started to individuals and schools and a separate track for IT professionals who want to roll the product out to their entire organization. For those of you attending the call who haven't yet used or understand what Microsoft Teams is, let's discuss it. Microsoft Teams isn't available as a standalone service. It is an application that provides an interface as a hub that meets 4 key needs built on top of the Microsoft 365 platform. It allows us to communicate, providing meeting solutions for voice or video with shared screens. It replaces Skype for Business with group or one-on-one persistent chat. Teams empowers collaboration. The creation of Office 365 groups enable easy sharing, co-authoring, versioning, and discussing documents and other media exposed within Teams, but actually stored in SharePoint or OneDrive for Business. Each team can be customized. Teams is an extensible platform that can connect to other systems to reduce the need to jump between those systems, like Microsoft Planner, Azure DevOps, or Kronos. Individual teams can be configured to increase productivity, providing team members a centralized view of their work. Finally, Microsoft Teams is built to inspire confidence. This is an enterprise-grade tool that respects the provided security, compliance, and manageability that you get with Office 365. And now I'm going to turn it back over to Nick to get our demo started. There may be a 1 to 2 second pause.
Hey, thank you, Brandon. Folks, just bear with us for 1 second as we switch over to the demo. And I want to give my personal thanks to Brandon, who utilized some time over the weekend and through the nights to record this demo for everybody. So bear with me.
So now that we know what the tool is and how to get a potentially free license to use it, let's talk about where to get the tool. Once you have an Office 365 subscription associated to your email account, it's time to download the Teams client. While it is possible to use Teams entirely via the web browser, you will get the best experience using a native client. To download the Microsoft Teams client, navigate to https://teams.microsoft.com/downloads. If this is a work PC, you may have to work with IT to get this installed. Teams is also available for Mac, Linux, or your mobile devices. Regarding your remote internet connection, Teams is always conservative on bandwidth utilization and can deliver HD quality video in under 1.2 megabits per second. Actual bandwidth consumption in each call or meeting will vary based on a number of factors. When more bandwidth is available, quality and usage will increase to deliver the best experience. Now let's take a look at the experience within the Microsoft Teams native client. We're showing you information from a test account for Megan Bowen, an executive at an imaginary company, Contoso. When we first launch the application, we will need to log in with Megan's credentials. Once logged in, Teams Status Indicator can notify our coworkers that we are available to work. The status indicator respects our calendar in Exchange, so it may automatically update your status to busy when you're in a meeting. We're also able to set our status manually. If we look at the options available, busy, do not disturb, be right back, we have the ability to go and tell our coworkers whether or not we'll be able to interact with them or whether they should expect a delayed response. You can even set a custom message. I am out to a long lunch. We'll be back at 2 p.m. Call my cell if needed. A nice feature is that you can configure this status message to automatically clear itself after a certain period of time. Now let's take a look at other key features of the Teams interface. To understand several other aspects of the interface, we need to understand the contents of the Teams portion of the navigation first. A team is a collection of people, conversations, files, and tools all in one place. A channel is a discussion in a team dedicated to a department, project, or topic. When a team is created, it uses an Office 365 group to assign ownership and membership for the team. Teams can be public, meaning open for your entire organization to join, or private, meaning that individuals need to be invited to the team to be able to view the team's contents. When an Office 365 group is created in the process of creating a team, it is created with a SharePoint site, a planner plan, a OneNote notebook, a Stream video portal, a Power BI workspace, an Outlook email inbox, an Outlook shared calendar, a Teams wiki, and Teams chat channels. You get an awful lot as a part of the deep integration into the Office 365 ecosystem to help, empower collaboration within this team. A team within the interface is organized within channels. Under the sales and marketing team, we can see the general and the monthly reports channels. The Post tab within a channel holds the persistent chat transcript from the team. Messages are able to be responded to in threads, and when a thread is updated, it will be moved to the bottom of the transcript for others consuming the feed so those interested can catch up in context. These chats support @mentions to notify team members who are interested to catch up in context. These chats support @mentions to notify team members when they are being discussed or when their assistance is required. For example, we'll respond to Miriam @Miriam. Thank you so much for your support. Now, channels may be configured with tabs that will make that channel more productive. For example, the Files tab is deeply linked to a document library within the team's SharePoint site. Within the Files tab, we're able to go and view the contents of that library, upload new documents, or remove those documents without ever leaving the team's interface. If we look at the UK sales document, we can see that the document is opened inside of an Excel application inside of Teams. And we're able to go and add or update an existing record. And then close the Excel application to navigate back to the team and remain in context with the other work that we were doing. We can see that the SharePoint library reflects that the document was modified only a few seconds ago. Other applications are able to be integrated into channels as well. Microsoft provides integration with many other applications to help empower your team to be more productive and use the tools that they're already familiar with. Now let's take a look at the Activities tab. Most days when you log in, your first step will be to check your inbox and the Activities section within Teams. Our coworkers are continuing to drive business initiatives forward even when we're in other meetings or away from work, and the Activity tab is a great way to get caught up. This portion on the left is called the feed. The feed will include a highlighted set of messages or actions which you haven't yet inspected. When you were @mentioned or there were posts from the channels you monitor, that activity will show up in the feed. Clicking on the items within the feed will allow you to view those messages in the context of the channel they were posted in. So if we look at Pradeep's message, we're able to easily see the monthly reports channel and where Pradeep reacted to our reply with a thumbs up. Adding these reactions to messages is a quick and easy way for team members to communicate. It is a little bit faster than the OK or sounds great that we're used to doing in some other platforms. Now for noisy channels, you can control how often you get notified. Sometimes we're a member of a team that we only need to know a little bit of information, or we know that the team will specifically call us out if we need to know something or they need our opinion. So we can go into the channel notification section and change where we get notified when we're mentioned. So we can look at whether or not every new post provides information in the feed, or if when we're mentioned, we want to see it only in the feed, in the banner in the feed, or not at all. Many organizations first consider the move to Teams as a move away from Skype for Business. Of course, as we saw in the Teams portion of the application, they have greatly enhanced the functionality. But something Skype used to do very well was person-to-person or spontaneous group chat. And we can look at the chat function within Teams to understand how that's handled now. The chat interface is fairly straightforward, with just these two sections of recent and contacts. If we look at recent, we're seeing the conversations that we've recently had, and contacts allow us to easily start a new conversation with individuals that we're already familiar with. So under favorites here, we don't see Nestor. So we're going to add Nestor. And when we select him, we're already pulling up the chat history that had occurred previously between these two individuals. And so Megan can ask, and we can see two different indicators here. The first indicator allows us to know that Nestor has actually seen the message that was sent, whereas this indicator shows us that the message was sent, but that Nestor hasn't actually viewed it yet. If we look at what Nestor's seeing within this other browser, we can see the chat that has come in and the new message that has appeared. We can give a thumbs up to respond and provide a quick message back to Megan, letting her know that in fact Nestor has reviewed the document. If we look at the rest of the chat interface, we're able to see that there's actually a Files tab, which represents files that are shared between Nestor and Megan, and that includes the test document that she uploaded previously. Now this document is actually stored within Megan's OneDrive for Business. And there are other tabs that allow us to go and see some of the activity that's occurred or that Nestor has been involved in recently. Another key feature we mentioned was the ability to go and create these spontaneous group chats. So one thing that may not be obvious is how to start a new chat session from the interface. You can actually right-click on chat, go to new chat, and be provided with an interface to create a group. So we're going to add Nestor, and we're also going to add Miriam. And send a message out to both of them. Now a piece that was present in the chats with Nestor, but we didn't pay a lot of attention to, were these application links in the top right that allow us to start a new video call, a new voice call, or share our screen. So whenever we're trying to go and collaborate and put something together, it very shortly it turns out somebody asking, hey, can I share my screen and show you what I'm looking at? This is how we accomplish that. Because Teams is part of a larger ecosystem, some of the information that will be shown in Teams is actually configured in Exchange. Because coworkers don't always have the same working hours or may be working across time zones, it can be helpful to configure them yourself so others can see this when they schedule meetings. To configure your calendar in Outlook to reflect your working hours, we're going to first log in to portal.office.com. You may need to provide the credentials from the email address that you created your subscription with, or if you have a domain joined device, it's possible that it will automatically sign in as you. From within the portal, click Outlook, and then the gear icon in the top right. Then select View All Outlook Settings. From here, the first thing we'll want to do is select General and set the time zone that we'll be working in. We can say what city we work in. And then there's a message here that's saying that my current time zone for working hours is Pacific time. I want to update these to Eastern time. It then takes us to the Calendar tab where we're allowed to go and set what our working hours are. Due to changes, I may start at 8 a.m. and now stop working at 5 p.m. I'll then save those settings so that my coworkers are able to see them whenever they're scheduling a meeting. And when we set up a new meeting within the Times client, we'll take a look at how this is shown. But before we jump into participating in a live meeting, we should look at some settings first. Click on your user profile icon at the top and come down to Settings, and we're going to look at our device settings. So Teams has the ability to go and see multiple media devices, speakers, microphones, and cameras that are on your platform. It also has this great feature for making a test call that you should leverage. When we click Make a Test Call, Teams is going to start a new meeting. It's going to tell us some instructions about what to do. And when we follow those instructions, it'll play our message back to us. So let's go through that process now and see the results.
To test your call quality, record a short message after the beep. Then your message will be played back to you.
This is a test message that we should hear again. This is a test message that we should hear again.
If you're happy with the quality of your message, then you've configured Teams correctly. If not, check your device settings and try again.
And when we come out of the test program, it shows us this diagnostic that lets us know whether or not Teams believes it was successful in connecting with the devices and getting that data back. Now, it's possible that we see a green check mark here, but maybe you didn't actually hear your audio back, or maybe you weren't able to go and see your own video. And if that's the case, then you will still need to go and change a few settings and try the test call again. But it can be very helpful to be able to pull this out without needing to go and grab another of your coworkers. The final piece we're going to look at is how to actually set up a meeting or have one of these live chat experiences. So if we look at the calls section, we can see that we get a directory of the individuals that we work with, and it includes our favorites, but also suggested contacts based on information that Microsoft knows about where you are in the organization, powered by the Microsoft Graph. It also has the ability to go and hear voicemails. If we look at the calendar, we're able to go and create meetings here, and this is where we're going to look at for setting up a new meeting with Nestor. So if we select a time to meet, we're able to go and set a title, and invite our attendees, and we can send the meeting out at this time. Teams also has a scheduling assistant built into it, just like Outlook, that allows you to go and look and see your coworkers' free busy times. So we'll send out this meeting request. Now, a useful feature, if you happen to go and meet with that individual, or you have some time to go and have that meeting a little sooner, or you want to go back to the same group, you can select the meeting, and it'll actually bring up that meeting even if it's not going on right then. And you can see some of the information that was added to the meeting. So Microsoft automatically adds the Teams meeting information. so that individuals will know what number they can call if they want to connect by phone and the conference ID, and we can see who's in the meeting, and when we're ready we can select join. So we're going to join the call, and maybe you're working from somewhere that isn't all that organized, and so you don't want everyone to see the background. Teams has this great feature that allows you to blur the background, and it'll take the details out of the background while still allowing you to be visible. Also, not everyone's comfortable sharing video all the time. You don't have to share video when you connect to a Teams meeting. By selecting this slider, you can turn the video off and still join. That can also be helpful in low bandwidth situations where you might want to just be pulling back the audio of the call. If you weren't going to be watching the video anyway, that can be a good thing to look for. So we're going to go and join the call. And the meeting's saying that it's going to wait for others to join. So we're going to go to another browser and have Nestor join this call as well. Now that Nestor has joined the call, we can look at some of the features that are available within the meeting itself. You'll see in the video that the microphone's muted. That's just so we don't get an echo through this demonstration. So we may choose to go and turn our video on, and one of the things that we didn't discuss before was one of the benefits we get is that sometimes in audio-only conversations, we don't pick up on all the same social cues that we get when we're meeting face-to-face. So being able to go and take advantage of the video portion of chat with meetings with large groups can be very beneficial. It can allow us to go and feel, more closely connected to our coworkers. Now, another great feature that's there, especially for these large meetings, is the ability to go and show a conversation that's going on within the meeting. And so when we look at the conversation panel, we can go and send a message. We can take advantage of several of the same features that we have available in one-on-one or Teams channel chat, where we can upload documents to this, and documents will be stored with the meeting. And that's as easy as drag and drop. So if I drop a document into the meeting, I get the ability to upload that document and provide a detailed message or a quick note. And those files are actually stored with the meeting itself. So if someone comes back to the meeting transcript, they're able to go and pull those files up and still have access to them. Other features that we want to look for is this icon that we've seen before for sharing our screen. So if we select that and then select one of the windows that we want to go and share with the other users on the call, it'll present our share screen dialog. We're able to go and look at the browser, show Nestor where he's able to go and download Teams, and then when we're done, go up to the top bar and say we want to go and stop presenting. Another piece that can be key when we come into the meetings is maybe we did the test call, but it's been a little while, and now for whatever reason our microphone's not working. If you go into the More Options menu, you get some of these interesting features. You still have the ability to come in and show your device settings. So if these were incorrect, you'd be able to update them at that time. You can blur your background. There's a preview feature for turning on live captions, and if your organization allows it, you can start a meeting recording that could be shared with other individuals who weren't able to go and attend the meeting. So we really have a rich meeting interface here within Microsoft Teams that gives us the ability to go and have these meetings and store these assets in the same secure infrastructure that our other collaborative activities are occurring. And so if we go back to the Teams client, it's important to know that The Teams client is extensible. There is an API available for developers to go and write applications that will integrate into Microsoft Teams. There's also a large number of the application integrations that are already available within the product, like we discussed before, where we may want the ability to go and add other tools like Microsoft Planner or a Power App to our team. And these can all be very powerful. Recently, Microsoft posted a crisis communication tool and all of the steps necessary to go and deploy that into your own environment. So we've shown you the core features of Microsoft Teams, and we hope that you're ready to try it for yourself. And if necessary, we are willing to help.
All right, thank you for that demo, Brandon. I'm going to pass the presentation rights back over to you.
Thank you, Nick. So we've covered Microsoft Teams at a high level and shared some of the features and functionality that help scale and foster remote collaboration. You might be at a point where you want to leverage Microsoft Teams, but need help with the implementation. Or you may have already started using Microsoft Teams, but have some questions about enhancing the experience. Either way, we're here to help. CEI is a Microsoft Gold partner, and we understand and appreciate that we all need to support each other through this difficult, unprecedented time. If you need some complimentary help subscribing, launching, and utilizing Teams, or with general implementation, please reach out to us. You can either reach out to your CEI representative, or you can reach out to Sandy via his contact information here. From there, we'll get a sense of your environment and goals so we can work towards a plan to get Teams implemented to support remote collaboration at your company. At this point, we'll move into Q&A, so I'll pass the control back to Nick.
Hey, thank you, Brandon. I appreciate that. At this time, we will move into Q&A. We thank everyone who submitted questions when they registered and hope you address many of those in the presentation and demo. As a reminder, you can ask a question via the chat feature of your GoToWebinar control panel, again at the right-hand side of your screen. Brandon and Norma, we do have a couple questions that did come in. Looks like about 5 so far. The first one is, we have an existing distribution list that we would like to make into a team. Is there an easy way to do that?
Sure. So if you have an existing distribution list, one of the first things that you should look at is the size of that distribution list to make sure that it's appropriate to be turned into a team. Teams have a limit of 5,000 members. So if it is appropriate, you'll be able to go into the Exchange portion of the admin interface and upgrade that distribution list to an Office 365 group. When the Office 365 group's created, a number of other assets will be created with it, but a team is not yet one of them. So after that's occurred, the owner of that group will need to create a new team and associate it with the Office 365 group through the interface.
All right, great. We're getting more and more questions coming in. So here's the next one for you, Brandon. You mentioned a lot of Office 365 products, but I'm confused by when to use Teams instead of Yammer or SharePoint.
That's a good question that we do hear frequently. So every organization and team is going to find tools that they feel more comfortable with, but some general guidelines are that Yammer is useful for large group communications. Whenever you need to go and collaborate on an asset, though, it's better that Yammer references that asset rather than really making it a part of that channel. Teams is great for small groups. It allows you to work together to focus on these collaborative artifacts as we saw, and pull those together for your everyday work. Now, SharePoint can be great with their new communication sites and the ability to go and create, publish news articles that maybe your internal communications team publishes to targeted audiences, and those news articles can be surfaced in the SharePoint home or through their mobile app.
All right, thank you, Brandon. Here's the next one. How many teams can my organization create, and is there a limit?
Sure. So there is a limit. I believe that number is 500,000. But a long time before an organization actually gets to 500,000, they're going to want to be planning how they want to manage teams. They'll want to think about, what their life cycle should be on those teams, when they're going to archive them or delete them, and have a strategy in place for, who can create teams, and many other aspects of the governance around the product.
All right, so 500,000. Okay, next question. I've rolled teams out, but really am not seeing much utilization. Do you think I did something wrong?
Well, no, but with any new technology, we need to go and provide some support as we roll that out to our organization. So one thing that we can help with is putting together an adoption plan, where we can, look at how your business will use Teams, put together some pilot groups to help build momentum, and start planning some of the governance. Another thing is working with maybe your internal communications group to improve the messaging going out, to make your employees more aware of the tools, to share some success stories, and also let them know where training resources can be found, if if those haven't been provided already.
All right, thank you. Here's the next one. What is the difference between a post and a chat?
So post is just a special format of the chat. So whenever you're in a Teams channel and you're creating a message, if you just respond within a thread or set a new message, that's a kind of a basic message, but you also have the ability to go and format and create a post that gets highlighted and has different styling than the other chats.
All right, thank you. Here's the next one. Guys, we really appreciate all the questions coming in. Hi, what options are there for the IMs with regards to how you are alerted? Can pop-ups be turned off?
Yeah, so some of the settings that we looked at within the channel settings, or the notification settings for the channel, is an area where you're able to go and configure to be notified whenever new messages come in, or if you're mentioned or not notified at all. Sometimes with a really chatty group, that you may actually want to go and turn those notifications off and only check in whenever you're able to dedicate time to it, to preserve your own focus.
All right, here's another one. Let's say a team is created to generate deliverables for a specific report. Should those documents live forever in that team, or should those files only be a temporary storage of a project where permanent storage of work should be archived elsewhere? Did you get that, Brandon, or you need me to read that one again?
No, I did. That is a great question. So part of that's going to depend on your larger information architecture within your SharePoint portal, and how you handle knowledge management at your organization. So for some deliverables, if you're working through it and it's not really ready for public consumption, maybe you want to go and just iterate on it within the team, And then whenever that deliverable is ready for the full organization to consume, you might move it out to a communication site for that consumption. Also, if the work isn't something that gets largely shared, you may want to look at whether or not what your archiving process is. So do you have a central place for just the final deliverables to be stored in maybe a department document library, or do you just want the team to remain around for a certain period of time before it's eventually deleted?
All right, here's the next one. We have time for a couple more. Is there a way for an employee to see all of the teams that are available so they can select which ones they might want to join?
So within the Teams client, you're able to go and say you want to go and join a channel. The channels that are available to join or that you'll see are only the public teams. And so if the team that was created is a private team, you may need to be invited from the owners of that team for you to gain access.
All right, here I think will be the last one. Is there a way to auto disable a team if no activity in 60 days? If there's no activity within 60 days?
That is a good question, and I would need to follow up on that one. I know that there is the ability to go and set up some rules, but I'd want to look at whether or not we can trigger off of activity.
So David, we'll get back to you on that one, all right? We know that you asked it, and we'll follow up accordingly. So I think we're coming up on the time we allocated, 45 minutes. So at this point, we're going to close down Q&A. If there are questions that we didn't answer that were submitted, we'll certainly get back to you afterwards. Brandon and Norma, thank you very much. Given that we're nearing the end of the webinar, I do want to turn it over to you to see if you have any final thoughts for the group.
Sure, it's Norma. I think I would definitely, I think Brandon alluded to this in some of the questions, is to really approach this as you would any large transformation change management effort or technology adoption, with support for your workforce, with training, monitor adoption, set some goals, work with stakeholders throughout the organization to make sure you're leveraging and optimizing what can be done. And that will help you make deployment and configuration decisions, and then measure and monitor progress. I would suggest if you're not already measuring employee engagement, go ahead and start doing so. There's some add-ins that you can do. You can use the basic forms, and I'm sure Brandon has many ideas on how else you could monitor that once you start deploying this, and that's something else we can definitely help you with.
Thank you very much, Norma. Brandon, anything else you'd like to add?
Thanks. Yeah, just that, there was the question around adoption. Adoption is such a big topic. But I think, really once someone begins to go and use the tool and sees how much easier it makes interfacing with some of the other connected systems, that when they get to that next project, they're reaching back out and saying, I need a team set up for this. And so I really think, once you get through that first block, you'll really see the traffic start to flow. And many of my customers have seen huge increases in their Teams utilization just over the last few weeks. I know Microsoft is reflecting the same globally. So there really is a lot taking off here, and hopefully, if you're struggling, we'd be glad to help.
Brandon, thank you again very much. We really appreciate all the time that you placed into the demo. Everyone on the call, thank you very much as well. In closing, we want to say that we very much appreciate your time and hope that you found the content valuable. Again, this is certainly an unprecedented time. We want to be able to help. So please reach out if you feel that we can. And with that, we'll close down. Have a great afternoon. Thanks, everybody.